Pass the 40 cause my mother's not looking.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Past the 40. Today's guest is April Shprintz. April, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great, Chris. How are you?
I am fantastic, actually. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from LA, but in this case, it's actually Lower Alabama.
Lower Alabama. Is it proper to say Roll Tide or no?
It depends on who you talk to, and they're real
talking to you.
serious about it. So no, I don't care one way or the other.
Okay. So what are you doing in Lower Alabama? Is that where you're from?
No, it's actually where I'm working right now. I have a client here that I've been working with, and I also have my other half who lives here. So it's kind of convenient.
Awesome. Are you in an office right now or in the client's office?
I am. I'm actually in one of my mobile offices, which is why everything's pink. Although I would love to work with a client who had everything pink. But this is when I am in Lower Alabama. This is where I do a lot of my work.
Awesome. How are you feeling about your 40 questions today?
I'm excited and nervous.
Are you?
Yeah.
All right. I think you're going to do just fine from how long we go back, a full 10 minutes already. I feel like
I'm a professional.
Yeah, exactly. You know what you're doing here. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be Whitney Houston.
How'd that turn out?
That went really bad for me.
Yeah.
My mom sat me down. She was a very candid woman, and she was like, "You're not black and you can't sing. You've got to figure out something else."
Right. Those are two key factors in that life's pursuit.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm sorry that didn't work out for you.
Well, it didn't end well for Whitney, so it actually ended okay for me. That's how I went.
Good point. Well, perspective. If you could give a TED Talk on any subject, what would it be?
It would be how sometimes the most adverse events that happen to you give you grit, and then you have an advantage for the rest of your life.
Do you have a moment that you point back to that leads you to that?
It's funny. I had a really tough childhood, and that's all relative. You really don't know that until you start talking to other people about their childhoods. And I wouldn't change it for a minute, because everything in life, from being in the military, going through basic training, all of those different things that were challenging to other people, I was like, yeah, this really isn't that hard. And I'm very grateful for that.
You started your own company called Driven Outcomes and have been dubbed the ultimate business accelerator. How do you help businesses grow?
So it's very unique in every business how you go in and do it, but it does kind of revolve around three things, right? It's either their business strategy, the people that they have, or the culture that they've developed over time. And really, by going after those three things simultaneously, people can have this amazing shift and do things that they would have told you were impossible before we went in and started working on it.
So for business owners that are listening, is there a common weakness that you see, or is it always falls in one of those three buckets?
It really does fall in one of those three buckets, but for entrepreneurs, for folks who have started their own company, the one thing that hamstrings them that I see the most is they react, right? So something could be urgent but not important, and their days can go on for months and months filled with urgent but not important things.
Sure.
So then they're not getting the results that they want.
Have you read The Effective Executive by Peter Drucker?
I have not. I know who Peter is, but I haven't read his book.
It's right along those lines of how, you can be efficient, but you want to be effective. Do you do the right thing? Do you do things right, or do you do the right things?
Yeah, I like that. I've heard that before, the efficient versus effective.
Yeah, it's a good one. So calling on your expertise, how do we get this podcast to become a global phenomenon?
Yeah, probably post something on YouTube with a bunch of these teenagers that are, making millions every month because they've got more followers than anyone else in the world, right?
Yeah. Do you know any of them?
Teenagers' attention.
Are any of those guys hanging out in Lower Alabama or what?
Several.
I saw a dog on your Instagram, and anytime I know that the guest has a dog, I have to make it part of the conversation as a big dog lover. So what kind of dog do you have, and what's the name?
So I have a Shih Tzu. He is 9.5. His name is Cowboy. He believes himself to be a pit bull, which I believe all small dogs do. Mm-hmm. And not in being aggressive, but in having way too much confidence for his size.
Why did you name him Cowboy?
I was wearing a Cowboy sweatshirt when I got him, and he was eating all of the other puppies' food right before we left, and he threw up on me in the car. And I was like, all right, your name's Cowboy.
You're wearing like a Dallas Cowboys sweatshirt?
Yeah, that's when I lived in San Antonio.
Very nice. What are you most excited about right now?
Life in general. So it's funny, right? You contacted me about the whole turning 40 thing.
Yep.
And I always thought that turning 40 would be scary. And a couple of years ago, I made a deal with myself. All right, you can turn 40 as long as you're doing something amazing. And amazing is, different for everybody. But
Sure.
for me, being able to help people with my work the way that I do and fund charities through doing that, it's amazing. I love it.
So speaking of that, you do a lot of charity work geared towards children. Why do you feel that charities which help children are so important?
So children are, and it sounds cliche, right? But they are our future, right? And
Back to Whitney Houston. There you go.
Yeah, I'm telling you, she really got an amazing lady. But really, like, if we want to impact change on the world as a whole, which I'm talking huge, right? That's global, but how better to do it than with the future generations, right? They are the ones who are going to be able to make a difference long past when we're gone. So I feel like that is the most important thing any of us can do. Some of us do it because we're parents, right? We have children. We can make an impact on the world that way. I don't have kids of my own, so I want to help mother all the other ones.
And you said you do that through business. So how do those two worlds intersect?
So when you work with me as a client, part of our deal is you're going to either donate a part of the fee that you pay me or a percentage above and beyond what you pay me to a children's charity that we agree on. In addition, my company also does work with a children's charity that is near and dear to my heart from South Florida, where I lived for quite a few years.
Have you ever had pushback from a client where they say, you know what, I don't have the budget to do that. We can pay you and that's it. Do you want the gig or not?
No, because I'm expensive. So like if they want me, they already know, look, you're doing it.
They have the money.
You got it.
All right. Way to set your level let's set it high. I like that. That's the way to go in. What's a great piece of advice that you've been given that has really stuck with you?
A great piece of advice that I've been given is to never dumb myself down to get along with people. And that was a really powerful piece of advice because of when it was given to me. I was about 26. I was just joining the corporate world from the military. Mm-hmm. And I was working with a lot of other individuals that were maybe 20 years older than me, and many of them men. And so sometimes I would just not share my ideas in the boardroom when we were all talking. And I had one of the leaders in the company tell me he would rather hear them call me some not so nice names that you sometimes call women in business than see me not share ideas he knew I had. And that was really powerful because it almost gave me permission to be me.
And you've been doing it ever since?
Not ever since. It took me a little while to get comfortable with it, but I am definitely doing it now.
All right. Sounds good. Being a business owner, who is someone that you admire in the business world?
I feel like I admire so many different people. Okay, right now, and I'm not doing commercial. I have no affiliation with this company, okay? But this water that I'm drinking, it's called Hint.
Yeah.
And the whole reason I even tried it was because I had read the story of the female entrepreneur that started it. And I have a crush on her right now because she developed this product, asked an executive at Coca-Cola for some advice on how she could really get it out there. And the executive said something like, no, sweetie, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. And so she made it a very, very profitable company just based on, I'll show you. And I thought that was really cool.
Very nice. What is a skill that you want to acquire in the next 40 years?
Oh, wow. Knowing when not to fight.
Right now, you pick a lot of fights?
No, but I always know when to fight for a cause, when to go after something, when to try and convince people. But if you've ever noticed when you work with folks, you can want something more than they do, right? And especially in my business, I have to have that judgment call of, do I want them to be successful more than they do? And if I do, then we're not a good fit. So in that case, I would want to know when to say, you're not going to work, you don't have the same fight.
Right. So right now, I guess if that's a skill that you want to add to your repertoire currently, if you're in that dynamic, you've just been going along with it and saying, all right, I'll fight through this one, rather than ultimately you want to get to a point where you're just like, you know what, this is not going to work out, so I can let's cut ties now.
Well, I want to see it on the front end because I'll cut ties. I'll let them know when we're at a point that this is as far as you can get with the mindset that you have today. And sometimes they're really happy with that. So the good and bad about my business is I can see exactly how far you can go. And sometimes other people have limiting beliefs where they don't see even what I can see for them.
For sure. It's always good to have an extra set of eyes, a fresh pair of eyes looking at what you're doing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your former life for a second that you mentioned before about the military. What was your role there?
So I was a television news anchor for the Air Force.
Television news anchor. And so you were on air broadcasting to the military where you were, or any military, well, I guess where were you located? And then like, what was your role as a news anchor?
So I was in Korea and Germany, then Afghanistan, Bosnia, Kosovo. I was all over. And then my final duty station was San Antonio. That's actually where I acquired Cowboy.
Right, cowboy shirt.
At different times, it would be either aired locally to the military and local nationals in the area. And then once I was in San Antonio, it was aired worldwide.
And you were updating on worldwide news or specific military focused?
Air Force. Specific to the Air Force. Worldwide news, but specific to the military members, what their missions were, and things that impacted them.
With that being your role, like in the media in the Air Force, did you have to go through regular training as if you were a soldier?
Oh yeah, still go through the exact same basic training, and this is going to date me a little bit, but if you've ever seen the movie Private Benjamin, that.
I did see it probably 30 something years ago. I think my mom was a big fan of it back then and made me watch it. We were big Goldie Hawn fans for sure.
Oh, she's awesome.
She's awesome. Wildcats was one of my favorites back in the day.
Oh, that was really good.
Very underrated.
At the end.
Yes, when they're like rapping and like Super Bowl Shuffle style. Yeah, Wildcats is one of the more underrated sports movies of our time.
I would agree with that.
I know what I'm talking about. What is something that you're afraid of?
This is funny. If you'd asked me this a year ago, Chris, I would have said failure. And today, if I'm completely honest, I'm not afraid of anything. That sounds so weird, but I'm just not.
I think it sounds amazing and not weird. But what happened in the past year that made you go from failure to like nothing?
So I worked with some great folks who really just put in my face, like, we're going to set you up to fail over and over again until you're numb at it, right? Until it just doesn't impact you and you realize that there is no failure if you don't quit, right? But like I used to call failure the F word. It was hard for me to say. I would position it as I didn't fail. I just didn't get to it in this time frame, but I will in this other time frame. Mm-hmm. And now I'm like, okay, yeah, I failed at that. So I'm going to go over here and do this. And it was so freeing. It was awesome.
Right. You could also just look at failing as learning. I either learn or I do what I want to do and just move on to the next.
Absolutely. Well, what is that quote? I win or I learn. I do look at it that way now.
There you go. Great. Maybe that's a turning 40 type of thing where you just cross that threshold and now you just have this new perspective.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I wish it would have come with just the turning 40. That would have been a little less painful, but it was hard earned. It was worth it.
Anything hard learned is certainly worth it. What is a quirk of yours that few people know about?
I am blind in my left eye.
I did not know that. Go figure. I thought I knew everything about you already.
I know, in these 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah. Is that something that, obviously you're used to it. Has it been your whole life or is it something that happened over time?
No, I was born that way, and it's legally blind. It's 20/200. So it's like a bar eye, right? So I can see that you are a man. Mm-hmm. But really how handsome you are if I would want to talk to you. Right. But all joking aside, so I was born that way. And they did the thing with the patch over the good eye to try and strengthen it and the glasses. I see those kids and I'm like, I know you go to the library and pull that patch right off because I sure did. And it was just something that wasn't correctable. The only thing it really impacts for me is depth perception. So no matter what size the parking space is, I always think I can't fit. I'm like, oh, there's no way. There's no way.
Well, now they have cameras in cars for that stuff. So you're...
that is the most helpful thing ever. I'm so thankful for that.
It's helpful to me, too, when I have two semi-mediocre eyes. So I'm sure it's a huge asset for you. If you could relive a single day from your past exactly as it happened the first time, what day would you choose to experience all over again?
So this is probably funny. This is my 12-year-old birthday party. So my mom threw me a surprise birthday party. It's the only one I've ever had. I'm terribly hard to surprise. And it was just one of those days that kept getting better and better. Surprise, you're having a pool party. Surprise, all the girls at the party get to come home for a slumber party. Surprise, we're making cookies. I was like, this is the best thing ever.
Good job, mom. She she really stepped it up there. But made every birthday since a disappointment.
I literally quit celebrating my birthday until I turned like 38. People were like, why? And I was like, look, you guys do nothing on this day. Like, it's just everything else will be a letdown. This
Right.
is just okay.
Can't top the 12-year-old birthday. It's funny. What is something that hangs on the wall in your home?
What is something that hangs on the wall in my home? I guess pictures of the people that are the most important to me. Like, pictures are huge for me. I get terrible anxiety to take them, but I absolutely love them.
Why do you get anxiety to take them?
I think because I was brought up in the South where being pretty is such a big deal. And, like, you can never look pretty enough in your pictures. Like, everyone's like, oh, you smile kind of weird. Oh, you do this. Everything you hear about pageant girls, that's real.
Is it? Is that a thing?
Pageant girl. But that's how everything is. Like, there's a Miranda Lambert country song, and it's about a breakup or something. And there's a line in it that says, it doesn't matter how you feel. It only matters how you look. And, like, people are going to hate on me for saying this about the South, but that is so something that you were told.
That can be pretty damaging at a young age.
Thing, right? Yeah. It matters who you are. That's the thing.
Let's say you have to go on a long road trip from Alabama, lower Alabama, to Connecticut, and you have to bring 3 people with you. Who's in the car? And it can't be any family members.
I got to bring 3 people with me. Fun people.
That's up to
All
you.
right.
I
The
would
dog
assume.
as a person.
And you could throw the dog. Throw in Cowboy. He can be extra.
Okay, so
Although he's family, so dicey right there.
oh, yeah, true. Okay, so we won't put the dog in there. Okay, so we will put Drew Shprintz, who is my ex-husband, but one of my best friends, right? And he's a great road tripper, and he drives like the opposite schedule that I do. Can I have anybody, like people I don't really know?
Yeah. Some people go all 3 celebrities, people they've never met. They don't even factor in car chemistry. They're just like, I love these 3 funny people, and I'm putting them in the car together.
Oh, that would be crazy. Okay, so I'll do him. I'll do Marcus Lemonis, rather, the prophet, right? Because he's awesome. I think he was super interesting to talk to. And then, you know what? My third person is going to be, I work with a marketing company called CNI Studios in Fort Lauderdale. The videographer guy there is amazing. I want to document this. So that's my third person.
Always be creating content. Good job. What are 3 words that Drew Shprintz would use to describe you?
Unstoppable, kind-hearted, angel.
Angel.
Yeah.
On that note, what did you get in trouble for when you were a kid?
Running my mouth. Always. Thinking that adults wanted my opinion.
Is that parental or any authority figures?
Anyone. I would tell anyone.
What would you eat for your last meal?
Cheese. Lots and lots of cheese.
What kind of cheese? Just a cheese sampler?
Cheese. Any kind of. I can't eat cheese. It doesn't like work well with me, but it is my soulmate. Like, you know, when you're Romeo and Juliet, it's April and cheese.
but it doesn't. So it's like an unrequited love because you can't actually have it.
It does not love me back.
Oh,
No.
man, that's depressing.
I know, it's kind of sad. But last meal, I'd be like, it doesn't matter what you do to me. I'm about to die.
Right? Who cares? You're not watching. You're not watching carbohydrate intake on the last meal. What is the worst job you've ever had?
The worst job I've ever had, I've had so many jobs, but it was a temp job. I worked in a transplant hospital, and I literally was hired oddly to help build a database. Based on the age and skill set I had, I still don't understand how that happened. And it was really sad to see the amount of people who came in, you know, who are facing like a life-changing struggle, and that at this particular place, and I won't name the hospital, they were just a number. That was like the worst. I was like, I got to get out of here. I don't care what they pay me. I've got to do something better than this.
Right. How old were you?
I was 25.
Life is too short to tolerate what?
Mediocrity.
From other people, from yourself, or anywhere?
first from yourself, right? And other people, it doesn't matter as much, right? Because you get to choose who you associate with. So I think it's most important that you don't tolerate it from yourself.
What if you go to a restaurant and have a mediocre meal? Throw the table over and walk out?
So just don't go back.
What is something...
I would tell the manager, because if it was my restaurant, I want to know, but not in a give me a free meal sort of way. Just like, hey, brother, let me help you out.
I am so on the same page with this and I talk to my wife about this all the time. I'm like, when the waiter comes over and says, so how was your meal? Like, I want to be honest with them. I used to actually be in the hospitality restaurant world, and I think it would be so helpful to like actually receive constructive criticism from your from the people dining with you, but it like automatically comes off as complaining when it's really not what I'm doing. I'm like, well, yeah, this was good, this wasn't good, or like I could, and I'm very analytical when I'm eating because I've like used to have a restaurant, so I'm I'm into all like the little intricacies of service. But yeah, I'm totally with you on that.
Well, and I love feedback, right? So I just assume everyone else does, which is not true.
Definitely not.
I would want to know. I'd be like, thank you for telling me the truth about this. I can fix it.
What are you curious about these days?
Everything. Life in general, and really how to be impactful for people in a way that is most meaningful to them. And that changes for every different person. So it makes me very curious about everyone I interact with.
Do you have any regrets?
I don't, and only because you couldn't have gotten to where you are without exactly what you've done. And I just don't know any of the things that I might have said in the past that I would have regret. How important was that to who I am now? And if you like who you are, you can't regret anything that got you there.
Well said. What is a book that everyone should read?
Book that everyone should read. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, but the unabridged version. So the one that's out there is missing something very important. So if someone listens to this and they go and get that book, you need the one that has the words vibration in it.
Say the words again.
And if you read it, the first time I read it, I thought it was just the word vibration. So the first time I read it, I thought I was dumb and I was missing something about the law of attraction. I wasn't. There was a key part of it that was edited out because people thought it would be hard to understand. And it was very important to the whole meaning of the book.
So right now there are two versions out there floating around.
One unabridged. It says edited for readability. No, you want the one that is not edited for readability.
Who is your celebrity crush?
Ooh, celebrity crush.
Besides the founder of Hint.
Yeah, I kind of think I have a celebrity crush on Marcus Lemonis.
Okay, that's fair.
Does he count as a celebrity? Because he's not just a celebrity, he's a real person, but he really seems to help people and care, and I find that super attractive.
I mean, he has his own show on TV, so I think that qualifies as celebrity.
Right?
I knew him. I'm not sure that everyone listening will know him, but I like watching entrepreneurs do their thing and help other entrepreneurs. So I mean, I'm in that world.
Right.
I'll take it, Marcus Lemonis.
Now my car question is seeming really weird, right? Ex-husband and the guy you have a crush on. Let's do it. And the videographer. It could be really good to me.
That's gonna be bad. You're gonna make a hit documentary on this road trip here.
Oh.
Why is your favorite hobby the best thing ever? Sell me on it.
I don't even know what my favorite hobby is, Chris. I don't know how I'm going to sell you on it. You know what? My favorite hobby is probably self-improvement, like getting better at whatever. And the reason it's the best thing ever is it's the gift that keeps on giving.
What is your latest self-improvement habit or tactic or routine that you've have tested out, or something that stuck with you that you try to do for self-improvement on a regular basis?
Okay, so and I was terrible at this. I was the last person in the world that was going to be good at this, meditation, right? I was like, I cannot quiet my mind. I'm not a quiet person. It's way worse up here. And the difference that can make for you and there's a lot of different apps and different ways to approach it.
Sure.
It's amazing.
What is your meditation practice?
So I actually listen to some guided meditations, about 15 minutes a day, and that's all I can do because I have the attention span of my Shih Tzu. So I do it every day, no matter what, and just make sure that I sit down, I quiet my mind, I listen to it. Some days I do better than others,
Of course.
but I notice a big difference in how grounded I am and the way that I approach things.
As do I. If you could have a
See, I want this to be a two-way 40 questions. I think it would be so much more fun.
someday, maybe we'll do that. I will be a guest on this podcast at some point.
Oh, I was going to ask you that at the end. I love it. Okay, if you need someone to ask you questions, I'm in.
If you're going to be in New York, then yes, because I want it to be in person. I don't want it to be like that.
I can make that happen. I could go to New York.
But you obviously have experience as an anchor in front of a camera. You're obviously easy to talk to, so I'll put you on the list, April. You seem like a leading candidate. If you could have a drink with a fictional character, who would that be?
The Khaleesi off Game of Thrones. Man, that came out quick, didn't it?
You had that one. You were waiting for that question to come in.
I didn't even know that was a possible question. I wish that was a real thing and you could make it happen.
I'll see what I can do. Virtual reality is around the corner. You could probably have a drink with anybody.
I love it.
What is a pet peeve of yours?
People not doing what they say they'll do.
That's a good one. Does it happen in your personal life, or is this more client-based?
It happens both, right? Like, nobody does what they say they're going to do all the time,
No.
right? I try for like 98%. And then I want to tell you up front if I can't do the other two. So anytime I encounter it, it's weird. It's one of those things where I really feel like I mark it on this mythical chalkboard, like, do what they said they do.
You're keeping score of basically everyone in your life. Like,
I've ever interacted with rated on reliability. And I don't mean to, it's just that.
right. Like, remember what you said 2 months ago on that Tuesday? I'm watching. Is there someone from your past that you feel you owe an apology to?
No. If I did, I've already said I'm sorry.
All right. Good
I have
answer.
no problem apologizing.
Awesome. What is a piece of advice you would give to your 20-year-old self?
It is not a race. There are no points for finishing first, and you're not all going to be on the same path.
When you were 20, were you always trying to finish first and trying to win?
I was, and I didn't even know what I was going after. I just knew I wanted to be there first.
Where were you? Where were you in life? Were you in college?
Well, I was in the military and in college.
Okay.
And racing to get married, racing to have a family. Like, I wanted to do all those things. And a general way you could describe my approach to life then was ready, fire, aim.
I'm familiar with that tactic. Which isn't bad. That's not a bad way to approach things, because it at least gets you in motion. And a lot of people just start thinking and think themselves to death and don't actually do. So ready, fire, aim isn't bad, because you actually, as long as you're firing, you can figure it out later. What is something that you have tried that you will never try again?
This is going to be a lame answer, but liver. It's just not happening.
Chicken liver?
I don't even know what
any
kind
type of liver?
I don't know what kind, but it was one of those experiences like you're not getting up from this table until you whatever, and never again.
Somebody forced it on you? If you win the lottery tomorrow, what are 3 things that you know for sure you would do with the money?
I would start my own personal foundation that would fund other charities that were doing well. I would either I have a disabled sister I take care of. I would either buy her another home, or I would renovate the one she has, however she wants. Mm-hmm. And the third thing would be the whole rest of the money. I would hide it from myself for a year to decide what to do with it.
Just so you don't spend it before you decide.
Make sure I make good choices. I feel like I have a great life already, and I would be like, let's wait and see. Let's see what's really important to you now. Those things I know are important. The rest of it, we'll let it ride and see.
Great. Looking back, what is something that your parents or parent did really well?
My mother was an incredibly hard worker. Like, she instilled a work ethic in me like nobody's business from young. Like, I can remember being 5 years old and wanting a Barbie, and to get it, I had to rake all these leaves that were in front of our doorsteps. We lived in like a basement apartment. And literally, like, she always worked really hard, and she wanted me to. And so I'm raking these leaves, and she's literally holding the little Barbie in the window, shaking her. Like, if you just finish, you can have her.
So she had already bought it. So let's say you didn't finish the leave task. Was she going to take it back to the store? Was that the threat? Or it was already in the house, so you had to feel pretty confident that it was going to be yours.
Which is only testimony that you did not know my mother. My mom would have taken me back and had me return her and been like, she could have had her, but April did not do her work. Yeah, so my mom was such a hard worker, and she put an amazing work ethic in me.
Awesome. And that's obviously something that has remained.
Absolutely.
If you could have personally witnessed an event in history, what would you want to go back and see?
Wow. You know, I would love the idea of seeing the wall in Germany come down and those family members being reunited, because that must have been like the most epic outpouring of emotion for folks that thought they'd never get to see each other again.
That's pretty awesome. You're definitely the first one to bring that one up in this question. That's a great one. What is the best trip that you haven't taken yet?
The best trip that I haven't taken yet would probably be touring Europe with my other half, because I've been there and he hasn't. And we are going to take a month and just go all over and see whatever we want to see. And that will be in the next couple years. I literally made him get a passport especially for this. So I'm really looking forward to it.
So you're on the case. It's going to happen.
It is. It's all over but the crying.
What's a great compliment that you've received that has really stuck with you?
Okay, this is probably going to be another one of those controversial things, but I'm just going to say it. One of the best compliments I ever got was a friend of mine who also happened to be a comedian, hence it being a little controversial. Mm. And he was like, April, you are a beautiful woman with the heart of a fat, ugly girl.
And that's the best compliment?
I think so, because if you ever think about, when people are all on the way that they look, that they're only rated on who they are as a person, they are the best people. And to me, that was just a huge compliment, because I got what he meant. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it probably feels a little twisted or whatever, but it was a very genuine, you have a heart of gold kind of compliment.
Totally. He meant it in a certain way, and you took it that way, and here we are talking about it however many years later. How old were you when that happened?
I think I was about 32. And I'm sure offending other people with me sharing it, but it's an awesome compliment to me.
It comes with some context, and now I think everybody understands what you're talking about. Or what he was talking about.
Right.
What should all 40-year-olds go and do or try ASAP? Call to action for our 40-year-old friends.
Whatever you would do if you knew you were dying in a week. Find a way, do it. Maybe it takes you a year to do it. You have kids, you have responsibilities, you have other things that are important. But that thing that if you were only going to be here for another week that would be so important to you isn't any less important. You just think you have unlimited time.
For sure. If you could, well, I'll ask you that question. What would you go and do if you were dying in a week? What's the thing that you would go and do now?
I got to tell you, there wouldn't be anything that I felt like I had to do right away, because I live my life like that all the time. I would call the people I love and tell them I love them every day for a week, but I wouldn't have to go run out and do anything. And I love that. Like, that is what gets me juiced, that if I went tomorrow, it would be okay.
That's awesome. There aren't that many people I think that would say that. That's pretty solid where you're at right now. If you could work for any person in the world, who would it be and what job would you want?
Ooh. Oh, that is tough. I've mentioned Marcus too much. Do you think he watches the podcast?
I mean,
when I saw the partner, I was like, oh man, why couldn't I audition for this?
I saw that one. I thought about that too. Yeah, I'm sure he listens. Who doesn't listen, really?
Okay, so yeah, him. Then him. Marcus, if you're out there, like, let's do something. I'll help you fix something. It'll be awesome.
if you were hosting this podcast, which you're on a list, I heard, to potentially do that one time, what is what what is one question that you would want to ask other 40-year-olds?
What is the one thing that you are most afraid for people to know about you?
Pretty good.
Because even if they didn't answer it, there'd be value to them thinking about it. And then why?
Which is a lot of these things, right? It just makes you think about things you don't normally think about. So I'll ask that question to you. What's your answer to that question?
So I'm going to answer it from the past because I don't feel like I feel this way anymore. But my biggest fear up until turning 40 that someone would know about me is that I did all these good things for people because I wasn't good enough. All my charity work, that I was earning the right to be. Right? So like April is good because she takes care of children that have a hard life. April is good because she helps people, etc. So my biggest fear was that people would say, without all these things, April isn't that good. That isn't anymore, but it was.
That's a good one. We have actually come to the last question here. We're just killing this thing. You picked a song that's going to play us out of here on this episode. What did you choose and why? So
I chose One Girl Revolution by Super Chick. Mm-hmm. And I chose it for a couple reasons. One, it's from one of my all-time favorite movies, Legally Blonde, which is just fantastic. I love that. Love Pink, all that stuff. Two, I recently did a project in Puerto Rico that was pretty tough. And it was FEMA related, and it was after the hurricane. And I was working with some tough people who were like, you're a woman. I don't know why you're here. I don't know what you do. And that was my theme song, driving to the work site every day.
And do you look at yourself as a one-girl revolution?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Good answers all through. I got to tell you. Thank you very much, April. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was fun. Hey, I'm not kidding about the thing. I'll totally ask your question and I'll come to New York. There's no reason not to.
We'll talk about that off the air in a minute. But thanks everyone for joining April Shprintz on this latest episode of Past the 40. Thanks again, April.
Thank you.